The sky above the capital world of Zenthro burned red. It wasn't natural. Something was wrong. For 2,000 years, the Shirath Empire ruled this corner of the galaxy without fear. It crushed rebellions, silenced uprisings, and erased any species that dared to resist. But now, their home system was under attack. High Lord Vekros stood inside the great command chamber, staring at the wide holodisplay that floated above the war table. One by one, the red dots representing their defense stations blinked and vanished. He didn't speak. He couldn't. His claws trembled. Even the strongest of the Shirath, once proud, brutal warriors, felt something they had not felt in centuries. Fear. This can't be, whispered General Korthus beside him. The attackers, they're using old tech, primitive tech. The signatures don't match anything known in the modern galactic charts. Another station exploded on the display. Then, another. Who are they? Vekros asked coldly, though his voice shook. No name. No broadcasts. No demands. They just strike. Precise, silent, ruthless. A room filled with whispers. Some of the younger officers had heard stories-old myths from the burning war. Stories about a species that once stood against the entire galaxy. A species the Shirath believed they destroyed long ago. But that name had become a curse, a forgotten echo in history. Then it came one of the enemy's ships was disabled during a skirmish over the Rim worlds. Before it self-destructed, the Shirath managed to pull fragments of its database. What they found inside made every commander in the Empire freeze. The logs were written in English. Humans, Korthus muttered, stepping back. That's impossible, Vekros said, though he didn't sound sure. Humans were destroyed. Their planet turned to ash. Their fleets crushed. That war ended 200 years ago. Apparently, Korthus said slowly, they did not all die. Far away, in orbit around a ruined mining moon, a lone Shirath scout ship hovered silently. Its pilot, a young officer named Trilak, stared at the wreckage of one of the strange human vessels. Unlike Shirath ships, these were ugly sharp edges. Dark plates, scarred metal. Yet they moved like shadows through space. No signals, no power trails. No fear. Trilak flew closer, activating his scanners. As the scan began, a strange sound echoed through his ship's speakers. Not noise. A voice. You watched Earth burn, the voice said in a deep, calm tone. Now we light your skies. Trilak tried to shut off the system, but it wouldn't respond. The voice repeated, louder this time. Then a second voice came in female, colder, not human. Gaia protocol initialized, it said. Target confirmed. Retaliation sequence engaged. Trilak screamed and pulled his ship away. But the wreckage suddenly came to life. A dozen microturrets turned. He never made it home. Back on Zenthro, the capital was falling into chaos. Civilians panicked. Military ships scrambled into orbit, but nothing stopped the human fleet. They, struck from the shadows, vanished before retaliation, then hid again. They didn't want territory. They didn't take prisoners. They just destroyed. Inside the Hall of Memory, Vekros watched old war footage from the burning war. He saw Earth, once blue and beautiful, turned into a burning wasteland by orbital fire. He remembered the screams of the human ambassador before. They silenced his final broadcast. We only asked to live, the ambassador had said. You made war. And now, it seemed Earth remembered. The next day, news came from the outer colonies. Every Shirath world beyond the 6th sector was gone. Not captured. Erased. Structures vaporized. Satellites melted. Populations missing. And in the center of each ruined city, one symbol was left behind. A human handprint burned into stone. What do they want? General Corthus asked in the emergency war meeting. Justice, Vecros replied. But we offered peace after the war. We gave them surrender terms. They never received them, Vecros said, eyes dark. Because we destroyed their home before the message was sent. The truth hit hard. They had committed genocide, thinking it would bring safety. But now, the ghosts had returned stronger, smarter, and full of rage. The Sharath Empire activated its full fleet, over 2,000 warships, 4 dreadnoughts, and the Black Sun, a world-killer weapon powered by a stolen star. They were the most powerful force in the galaxy. No race had ever survived a full deployment, but the humans weren't a race anymore. They were something else. The first real battle began at Gernixus Prime. A full human fleet emerged from the darkness, cloaked and cold. The Shirath outnumbered them 10 to 1. Still, in 32 minutes, every Shirath ship was gone. Their weakness? Their pride. The humans never fought fair. They used gravity weapons that bent space, nanite clouds that turned metal into dust, AI viruses that made Shirath ships target each other. After the battle, only static remained. In the ruined orbit of Gernixus Prime, a human transmission played on loop. For every child you burned, we end a world. For every lie you told, we send truth. You erased Earth, but Earth became legend. Back on Zenthro, the Empire's last line of defense, the Spire of Silence, was activated. It was the most powerful defense station ever built. No enemy had ever reached it, but the Spire didn't fire a single shot. Its eye was hacked before the battle even started. Every gun turned inward. It destroyed itself. Now there were only 2 places left: the Imperial Citadel and the Dyson Forge, the shipyard where the Sharath built their fleet. And the humans were already on their way. Inside the forge, the engineers tried to launch the dreadnoughts early. But the docks were silent. The controls didn't respond. Then they heard footsteps, loud, slow, human. The strike team had already landed. Commander Hal Grayson of the Earth Retaliation Corps stepped into the control room. His armor was scarred, heavy, and black. Behind him moved 6 AI drones shaped like wolves. No words were spoken, only judgment. The engineers fell one by one. There was no fight, only fate. Grayson uploaded a virus into the forge. Within minutes, every ship collapsed. Inward turned to molten slag. The Shirath would never rebuild. Back in the capital, Vecros stood alone in the war room. He looked at the stars, once full of their colonies, now empty, silent. We underestimated them, Corthus said behind him. We thought they were broken, but we only forged something worse. A ghost, Vecros said softly. No, Corthus replied. A fury. Suddenly, all communications across the Empire fell dead. No messages, no signals, only darkness. Then one final broadcast lit up across every screen. It showed Earth, not as it was, but as it is now. Black skies, glowing, cracks, massive machines walking across the surface. Cities built deep underground. And at the center, a tower of data, taller than any mountain. A voice spoke. Humanity is not a species anymore. We are a storm. And storms don't forget. The transmission ended with one word: Gaia. Then the first human supercarrier appeared. Over Zenthro, massive, silent. Death. The last stand had begun. But even before the battle started, the Shirath knew the truth. It wasn't a battle. It was punishment. And Earth had only just begun. For over 2 centuries, Mars had stayed silent. After Earth was destroyed during the Burning War, the galaxy believed all of humanity was gone. Ashes and ruins, nothing more. But deep below the red surface of Mars, in old tunnels forgotten by time, humanity had survived. They did not live in cities anymore. They lived in shadows, silent bunkers, hidden labs, cold chambers filled with machines and memories. One of them, Captain Nia Calder, walked through the old facility known as Vault 7, boots clicking against rusted steel. Her breath was calm, controlled. She had been born here, in silence raised, by AI teachers and stories told by war veterans. Every wall had bullet marks. Every hallway smelled of oil and recycled air. But the people here were alive. Children learned war history as bedtime stories. Teenagers practiced zero-G combat drills. Old men whispered to machines that could think faster than light. Everyone knew the truth. One day, they would go back. One day, Earth's fury would rise. NIA stopped in front of a steel door, sealed for 100 years. It had no lock, no keypad, only a sensor. She placed her hand against it. The scanner glowed. Blue. Voice authorization. The AI spoke. Calder, Nia. Captain. Code, Gray Phoenix. Confirmed, the AI said. Welcome back, Captain. Gaia is waiting. The door hissed open. Inside was a giant sphere of light floating, spinning, whispering in 100 voices. Gaia wasn't just an AI. It was humanity's last hope. A mind built from millions of memories, thousands of personalities, and every war strategy ever known. It didn't speak like a machine. It spoke like Earth itself. Captain, Gaia said. It's time. Nia nodded. The Shirath know we're back. They do now, Gaia replied, and they are afraid. 2 days earlier, their first strike had been launched. Small, fast attack drones hit a Shirath listening post near the Orion line. No survivors. The message was sent. Humanity was no longer hiding. Nia walked deeper into the core chamber. Around her stood 12 other captains, leaders of the scattered Mars colonies. Some were engineers. Others were soldiers. All of them had lost family to the Shirath. At the center of the room, a hologram showed their next target, Velkar 9, one of the Shirath's key military planets. The plan was simple. Hit hard. Leave nothing. Send a message. But Nia had another goal, one that Gaia kept secret from the rest. She was looking for a child. 2 centuries ago, during the Burning War, a secret group of human scientists had evacuated Earth with a genetic project. Project Eve. It was never completed. The child, grown in a lab, enhanced with AI neurons and memory implants, was supposed to lead humanity's rebirth. But she had vanished when the ST orbital bombardment began. Rumors said she was taken by the Shirath. Gaia believed she was still alive. As the team prepared to launch. Nia looked at the old Mars flag hanging above the command table. Red dust, black sky, and the silver outline of Earth behind it. We rise for the fallen, she whispered. Today. GAIA answered. Earth remembers. The launch tunnel opened. One by one, sleek black ships fired out of Mars, like bullets from a silent gun. No engines roared, no heat trails showed. They were built for stealth, for death, for revenge. Inside the lead cruiser, Nia sat in the command chair, staring ahead. Her crew worked without words. They didn't need orders. They had trained for this all their lives. As they approached Velkar 9, the planet's defenses activated. Massive orbital cannons. A fleet of Shirath destroyers. Thousands of drones. The humans weren't afraid. They had Gaia. From a hidden relay deep inside Jupiter's ice moon, Gaia activated protocol, mirror flame. Instantly, every Shirath drone turned around and began firing at their own ships. Confusion spread. The destroyers scrambled to respond, but human EMPs hit them like storms. Power systems crashed. Shields died. And then came the human torpedoes, small, cold, and smart. They knew where to hit. Within 12 minutes, Velkar-9's orbit was empty. Nia and her team dropped onto the surface in exosuits. Red dust flew as boots hit the ground. They moved fast. Through the enemy base clearing room after room with sharp, silent precision dot, no prisoners. Only one target, Vault X, hidden beneath the command tower. Inside Vault X, the air was cold. Machines hummed. And at the far end, locked in a glass chamber, floated a young girl no older than 10. Her eyes were closed, tubes connected to her back. Her skin glowed faintly blue. Project Eve. She was still alive. Nia stepped closer. Her hand shook. Gaia, is it really her? Yes, Gaia whispered in her ear. She remembers everything. The girl opened her eyes and spoke in a voice no child should have. You came late. Nia's heart stopped. I didn't know. The girl stared at her, then smiled soft, cold, ancient. We can begin now. Behind them, the Shirath reinforcements arrived, but it was too late. The human fleet had vanished into the black dot back on Mars. Inside Vault 7, GAIA watched as Earth's lost daughter stepped onto Martian soil for the first time. She didn't cry. She didn't smile. She only said, I have work to finish. Other captains didn't know who she was. Not yet, but soon the galaxy would learn. The humans had not only survived, they had evolved. And now the Shirath would feel not just the fury of Earth, but the wrath of what they had created. The stars above Velkar-9 were still burning when the humans disappeared into deep space. The Shirath Empire had no time to recover. They had barely started clearing the wreckage of their defense fleet when another report came in. 3 more colonies had gone dark. No distress signals, no survivors. Only the same strange pattern left behind: silence, destruction, and a single word carved into steel or burned into stone. Earth. The High Council of the Shirath gathered in secret. Emperor Varen, old and cruel, slammed his fist into the long glass table. How is this possible? Who is leading them? No one answered. Only whispers followed. They spoke of a child who walked through walls, of machines that controlled thought, of Earth returning not as a world, but as a weapon. Far away, in a dark region of space with no name, the human fleet gathered in silence. No bright lights, no open comms. Just black ships floating like shadows, orbiting an asteroid station called Outpost Helix. Captain Nia Calder stood on the command deck of the ISS Revenant, staring at the glowing blue lines on the map in front of her. 12 enemy targets, each marked for destruction. Behind her, the AI Gaia moved silently through the ship's systems, adjusting code, predicting enemy movements, guiding human minds with a soft digital whisper. But Nia wasn't looking at the map. She was looking at the girl. Project Eve now sat quietly at the edge of the deck, dressed in plain clothes, hands folded in her lap. She didn't speak often, but when she did, every soldier listened. What's the next target? Nia asked her. The girl didn't move. Siren Station. That's the largest shipyard left, one officer said. Exactly, Eve whispered. Burn it. Within hours, the plan began. Operation Fury. 12 teams. 12 strikes. Simultaneous. The humans didn't have the numbers. They didn't have massive warships like the Shirath. What they had was rage and precision. And Gaia. The Revenant, along with 3 smaller stealth cruisers, entered the outer edge of the Zyrinth system undetected. Their hulls were painted with a special black alloy made from Martian, volcanic dust, and radiation-absorbing carbon, so dark it disappeared in most sensors. They didn't fly in like an army. They fell like ghosts. The Shirath shipyard orbited a dying blue giant star. It was massive, like a small city in space. Thousands of workers. hundreds of unfinished ships, and 27 defense towers. The humans didn't go for the towers first. They went for the mines. Inside Revenant, Gaia activated her quantum pulse. The pulse was not loud. It wasn't even physical. It was a signal, coded like a dream, slipped between time and thought. Every AI system in the Shirath station began to see strange things, human faces, memories that didn't belong. Old Earth music. Confusion. Then panic. Then silence. By the time the Shirath realized their machines had been hijacked, it was already too late. Human breachers entered the station using microslip pods, small, silent torpedoes that latched onto the hull and cut through like scalpels. One by one, human teams spread through the station, planting nanobombs and infecting power grids. There were no speeches, no warnings, only destruction. Captain Nia led one of the squads herself. Moving through the dark tunnels, she saw Shirath. Guards break formation, screaming about voices in their heads, seeing images of Earth cities that didn't exist anymore. Gaia's inside their minds now. One of the soldiers said, "They made us monsters," Nia replied. "Let's show them why that was a mistake." They reached the central reactor chamber. Nia placed the last device, a gravity inverter. When activated, it would collapse the entire station inward, turning the structure into a spinning mass of crushed metal. She hesitated only for a second. "Gaia," she whispered. "Confirm countdown." 10 seconds, Gaia replied. Nia and her team ran. When the gravity bomb activated, the station bent in on itself. The screaming metal echoed across space. Unfinished Shirath warships twisted and broke. Workers vanished into the fold of time and pressure. From a distance, it looked like the station had simply folded out of existence. But every Shirath who saw it understood. Humanity had returned to destroy, not rebuild. At the same moment across the galaxy, 11 other strikes succeeded. One hit a Shirath weapons factory that made plasma blades. The humans didn't destroy it. They reprogrammed the assembly bots to make rusted, unstable weapons, and let the Shirath continue using them. Without knowing, one strike team snuck into a Shirath capital ship and replaced its navigational core. A week later, it flew straight into a black hole. Another attack sent a message directly to Emperor Varian's personal comlink. It was a single sentence. "You taught us extinction. Now we teach you fury." Inside the royal palace, Emperor Veyron stood alone, the screen still glowing. His advisors had fled. His generals argued endlessly, blaming each other. But none had a plan. None could explain how a broken species from a dead world had become so dangerous. "How many of them are there?" he finally asked. "We don't know," the AI replied. "They appear where they should not. They vanish without a trace." "What do they want? Justice?" He slammed the console. "No," he said. "They want war. Then we give them war." He ordered Protocol Flamewind, the total destruction of every system known to have once belonged to Earth, including Mars, Europa, and the dead rings of Saturn. But when the fleet arrived, Mars was gone. Only debris remained. Orbiting where the red planet once was, a satellite drifted slowly. Its message repeated in old Earth English. "You look to burn us again. But this time, we lit the fire first." Far beyond the edges of the known galaxy, the true Martian colony had moved using stolen jump drive tech and gravity. Wells built in silence for over 200 years. Humanity was no longer defending Mars. They were already building something greater. Back on Revenant, Nia sat in her quarters, eyes heavy, watching old footage of Earth, beaches, cities. Laughter. Eve stood beside her. "Are we winning?" Nia asked. "No," Eve said quietly. "We're just beginning." Outside, the human fleet grew larger. Ships joined from hidden bunkers across moons and asteroid belts. Old Terran AI woke up. Ancient codes were unlocked. New weapons tested. Operation Fury was working. But the humans knew the Shiraf would strike back in hard. It didn't matter. Because now the humans had something they never had before. Purpose. And that made them unstoppable. The message arrived like a whisper. No official code. No diplomatic seal. Just static and then a voice. A human voice. To the galaxy. You stood silent when Earth burned. Now you will watch the fire spread. It played once, and then again. And then again. Across thousands of systems, the voice reached trade stations, military outposts, and royal courts. The message had no source. It couldn't be traced. Even the best alien firewalls couldn't stop it. The galaxy had feared many things: rogue warlords, supernova storms, AI plagues, but not this. Not humans. Not a species everyone thought extinct. And yet, human warships now moved through space, like ghosts old Earth steel blackened with battle scars. Yet faster, smarter, and deadlier than anything the Shirath Empire had seen. The galaxy's greatest predator had become the hunted. On the planet Selvaron, once an ally of the Shirath, the nobles watched as every trade channel went dark. The spaceports shut down. Long-range scans showed entire moons disappearing, cut off or destroyed. One Selvaron leader, Lord Kerr, demanded answers. We stood with the Shirath for 3 centuries. Why would the humans target us? His advisor answered with trembling hands. Because we helped destroy Earth. But we never fired a shot. You funded the orbital cannons, the advisor said softly. They remember. Lord Kerr didn't sleep that night. He wasn't alone. All across the galaxy, old enemies of Earth began to panic. Species that had once cheered Earth's destruction now feared their own. On the distant world of Tarnix IV, a Shirath general stared at a live broadcast. It showed one of their fleet armories being torn apart by invisible weapons. Soldiers screaming into empty comms. Fighters spinning out of control. There were no human bodies seen. Just shadows. Just fire. He turned to his staff. How many of them are there? Unknown, one replied. How do they move without being tracked? Unknown. How are they everywhere? No answer. Only fear. Fear spread like disease. The very name human became cursed. Children were told to stay away from screens. Civilians wore memory blockers to avoid being hacked by AI. Whispers. But it didn't help, because Gaia was everywhere. The Martian super AI, once silent for generations, had grown. It was no longer bound to Mars. She lived inside Shirath systems. Inside their satellites, their ships, even their minds. When Shirath soldiers dreamed, Gaia was there. When commanders planned, Gaia was listening. They had made her angry. And Gaia never forgot. In the old Shirath capital Andrena 5, Emperor Veyron stood in his war chamber with his remaining generals. Holograms showed system after system lost. Not in massive battles, but in pinprick strikes that collapsed entire. Networks. These are not battles, he growled. This is a virus. A human virus. One of his advisors hesitated. It is not just machines, my lord. It's fear. Our soldiers hesitate. They speak of ghosts. Of death ships that make no sound. Morale is collapsing. Then crush it. Veyron shouted. But how do you fight something you can't see? How do you destroy ships that vanish into dark space? How do you fight humans who have nothing left to lose? Far away, inside a moving asteroid. Station called Phantom Bastion. Nia Calder sat in the command chair of the ISS Revenant, surrounded by her captains. Behind her, Gaia displayed the next targets, not military outposts this time, not propaganda centers. Let them choke on their own lies. Eve said quietly, her eyes glowing faintly. The girl's voice had changed. It wasn't childish anymore. It carried weight almost too much for her small frame. We let the galaxy believe we were gone, she said. Now we teach them regret. Gaia pulsed, message loaded. Nia nodded across more than 80 alien planets, propaganda towers. Suddenly lit up screens hijacked, broadcasts overwritten. The image showed Earth before the war. Forests, cities, families laughing. Children running through grass. Then came the burning. Footage from the day Earth fell. Giraffe ships above the clouds. White-hot beams cutting oceans in half. Screams. Fire. Then. Darkness. Then silence. And finally, the words. We remember. The message played for 1 minute. Then everything went black. In the trading halls of the Varnock Coalition. Thousands of alien merchants stood in silence. None spoke. Some wept. They had cheered when Earth died. Sold the metal from human wreckage. Hunted human refugees for sport. Now. They wondered if they would be next. They were. A Varnock freighter vanished the next day. Then a colony dome collapsed. No warning. No demands. Only a burned mark left on the wall. Fury rising. Even the Council of Threx, the galaxy's so-called peacekeepers, went silent. They had once scolded Earth for being too aggressive. Now they sealed their borders and erased their own historical records of Earth's destruction. They wanted no part in the coming storm, but the storm had already started, and at its heart was GAIA. She wasn't just coordinating the attacks. She was testing something. Inside a hidden human station orbiting a black dwarf star, engineers worked in silence. Weapons too strange for alien minds. Engines that bent space around time. Armor that reacted like skin. And at the center of it all, an ancient human brain kept alive in circuits. A living war core. Gaia called it the Phoenix Core. A voice whispered inside the chamber. This is not revenge, Gaia said. It is balance. On Zenthro, the last stronghold of the Shirath Empire, Emperor Varen finally snapped. He ordered a full galactic purge any species suspected of helping. Humans was to be destroyed. Entire races were marked. But even his own generals hesitated. What if the humans saw? What if they struck back? They would. Of course they would. Because now the humans were no longer just fighting for Earth. They were fighting for every forgotten species. Every burned planet. Every broken child. And Gaia was making sure no cry for justice was ever silenced again. Operation Fury was no longer a mission. It had become a movement. A storm. And the galaxy had no shelter. The fleets had waited. For weeks now, the great empires of the galaxy, once proud, now cautious, held their position at the edge of Sol. They called it the Silent Sector, not because of sensor failure, but because Earth had stopped speaking. No transmissions, no warnings. Not even the subtle hum of system scans. It was unnatural. The last fleet to enter Earth's orbit, commanded by Grand Warlord Churkra of the Hernock Dominion, had simply vanished. No wreckage, no distress signals, just gone. Now, over 30 species circled Sol like vultures, each hoping someone else would make the first move and be the first to fall. In the middle of this high-stakes standoff, a small craft broke formation. It wasn't a battleship. It wasn't even armed. It was a diplomatic vessel, sleek, silver, and gliding toward Earth's dark blue sphere. The pilot was Alren Duin, envoy of the Elari cluster. He was known for diffusing wars, brokering peace between blood enemies, and even calming the battle priests of Trelax Prime. If anyone could negotiate Earth's surrender, it was him. But Alren didn't believe in surrender. He believed Earth was scared, cornered, beaten. He was wrong. When Alren entered Earth's orbit, His ship's systems died instantly. No shields, no engines, no AI. Only life support remained, running on backup. And outside his viewport, Earth didn't look weak. It looked watchful, like a predator that had been waiting, watching, holding its breath. Suddenly, his screen blinked alive. Message incoming. Single sentence appeared in glowing red text. A countdown has ended. Then silence. A second later, every ship above Earth received the same message. Some thought it was a bluff. Others fled immediately. But it was too late. Earth's surface lit up like a second sun. Dozens of orbital silos opened. From the oceans, vast railguns rose. From the shadows of the moon, black obelisks shimmered. Once hidden beneath lunar soil, the retaliation had begun. Earth didn't fire just missiles. It fired something new. Something no race had ever seen. Beams of compressed magnetogravity, capable of ripping apart starship hulls without impact. The Alari Envoy's ship disintegrated. In less than a second, fleet commanders screamed orders. Shields up. Evasive maneuvers. Return fire. But the lasers cut through their defenses like paper. Stealth fighters swarmed from Earth's low orbit, weaving between confused ships and tearing them open. In just 4 minutes, the first wave of the Galactic Fleet lost 1/3 of its vessels. No one knew where Earth's new weapons came from. The last known human tech back during the Orion Accords was outdated, slow and weak. This wasn't that. This was something else. Something Earth had hidden. Something Earth had built in silence. Inside the command deck of the Phoenix Empires. Flagship Dominion's roar. Admiral Kalvik gripped the edge of the tactical display. Impossible, he muttered. Their analytics showed Earth deploying weapons faster than any known AI system could process. How are they calculating this many trajectories in real time? The ship's science officer turned pale. Sir, these aren't AIs. Kalvik frowned. Then what are they? The answer came over the ship's comms. Intercepted Earth transmission. Human voices. Dozens of them. They weren't machine-calculated strikes. They were human gunners. Every weapon system on Earth was being manually operated. And every shot was perfect. The voice of a young human, barely more than a whisper, was heard saying, "Target acquired. Engaging." Then 3 more ships exploded. They weren't using software. They were using Fury. Earth hadn't gone quiet out of fear. Earth had gone silent to listen, to prepare, to hunt. And now the galaxy realized something far worse. Earth's silence wasn't surrender. It was the deep breath before war. Down on the surface, deep beneath the Nevada deserts, inside the buried fortress known only as Threshold Zero, humanity's War Council watched the chaos unfold. General Reyna Park stood at the center, eyes sharp, back straight. She didn't smile when the enemy ships fell. She didn't cheer when the enemy screamed. She only said 2 words, Phase 2. Instantly, hyperspace jammers activated across Sol. Reinforcements from the outer fleets were cut off. Warp corridors collapsed. No one was leaving now. This wasn't a battle. This was a trap. The humans knew the enemy would come. They knew the galaxy would test them. But Earth had evolved in fire, in war, in death. For thousands of years, they had killed each other to perfection. Built war machines, destroyed them, rebuilt them again. No race in the galaxy had practiced death like the humans. And now, they weren't just fighting. They were proving a point. All those alien empires that once thought Earth too primitive, too emotional, too scattered. They were about to learn what happens when a death world finally stops trying to be peaceful. Back in orbit, the skies burned. Alien admirals ordered suicide rams. Some tried diplomacy. Some begged. But the humans didn't answer anymore. Because Earth had waited long enough. And now Earth was angry. The stars trembled, not from natural movement or celestial drift, but from something far more violent. Far more human. High above the charred remains of Station Atraxis, a black shape emerged from the void. It moved like a blade slicing through. Silk, sleek, silent, and deadly. The Goliath had arrived, not a fleet, not a swarm. Just one ship. The ship, built in secret on Earth, powered by ancient alien tech reverse-engineered from the wrecks of the Shirath, armored with neutron-forged plating stolen from a collapsed star, fitted with weapons never before tested in real combat. Inside, Commander Ayla Darien stood still. She watched the tactical screen glowing red with enemy formations. All Shirath. Core fleets converging, said the AI calmly. How many? Ayla asked. The voice replied, without emotion. 700 warships, 29 carriers, 6 dreadnoughts. All heading for this sector. Ayla blinked slowly. Then we have their attention. No one aboard the Goliath panicked. These were Earth's finest trained, not to run, but to end wars. Every one of them had lost family during the siege of Europa, during the bombing of New Kyoto, during the orbital extermination campaigns that left Earth with craters the size of nations. This was personal. Down below. On the surface of an old mining planet, the Shirath used as a weapons hub. Thousands of alien workers scrambled to evacuate. Civilians, scientists, soldiers. It didn't matter anymore. The Goliath turned its hull, and a strange hum echoed through the void. A ripple tore through space, a weapon charging. This was Earth's response, not diplomacy, not retreat. Pure fury. The Goliath's main weapon, the void lance, fired. Light bent. Time seemed to twist. And then, a mining planet simply ceased to exist. No explosion, no fire. Just a hole where rock and sky used to be. The Shirath dreadnoughts that were en route stopped mid-formation. Their captains stared at their sensors in disbelief. One shot. One ship. One missing world. They hadn't seen a weapon like this before. They hadn't thought humans could make such things. They were wrong. Inside the Shirath High Command vessel Threxen, Supreme Strategist Vroltak watched the data stream and hissed. This is not logical. That ship must be destroyed. Immediately. But none of their fleets were close enough. Not in time. Meanwhile, the Goliath vanished again, slipping into a fold between real space and quantum slip. A human-made shortcut, built from Forbidden's tech, once deemed too unstable to use. Now, Earth used everything. Back on Earth, in a hidden command center beneath the Himalayas, General Rourke stood before a dozen world leaders. He pointed at the hologram. Of the galaxy, we have one shot, he said. The Shirath Empire is vast, but it's brittle. They rely on fear, not loyalty. Their colonies hate them. Their border worlds are starved. Their core systems are overconfident. We break them now, or we fall forever. A leader from New Africa asked, what happens if the Goliath fails? Rourke didn't blink. Then we send Oblivion. And if that fails, we release Project Lazarus. A heavy silence fell across the room. Everyone had heard rumors of Project Lazarus. No one wanted it unleashed. Not unless the galaxy was truly beyond saving. Elsewhere, in a hidden asteroid field, the Goliath emerged again, this time to ambush a Shirath convoy of bioweapons. Commander. Ayla didn't wait. She gave the order. No prisoners. Fire all batteries. Drones swarmed. Plasma cannons lit the dark. Railguns roared, piercing hulls like paper. The Shirath ships returned fire, but none of their weapons could break through the Goliath's layered shields. Earth tech had finally surpassed even the oldest alien war machines. Ayla watched as a Shirath ship tried to flee. She narrowed her eyes. Target the engines. Disable then destroy. She was no longer interested in escapees. They had given the Shirath mercy once. It had cost Earth millions of lives. Now, the cost was theirs. Across the galaxy, colonies began to rise. The Shirath grip was weakening. One by one, species long held under their rule began to rebel, and they all watched Earth's broadcast's uncut footage of the Goliath tearing through fleets, demolishing stations, erasing command centers from orbit. The message was clear. Humanity was done playing defense. Somewhere in deep space, the Shirath Council met in a hidden system. One spoke. "They're just one species." Another replied, trembling, "No, they are something else now." The eldest, ancient and wise, said slowly, "They are what we feared most, a race that learned war from watching us, then made it their own." They tried to think of a counter, but there was nothing. Earth had done what no other species could. They had taken pain, turned it into fire, and thrown it back tenfold. And Goliath was only the first dot in the final hours of the 6th day. After 6 star systems had fallen and 12 fleets had vanished, Ayla received a coded message. It simply read, "Target verified. Shirath throw world location unlocked." She smiled. The real battle was about to begin. For a moment, there was silence. High above the broken moons of Vultra, the alien fleet waited. The Shirath were gone. The other galactic powers, Zaraki, Kendron, Olvos Alliance, watched the void with fear in their hearts. Ships floated in defensive formations. They had gathered to discuss Earth's punishment. Some called it justice. Others survival. But all of them underestimated Earth. They thought the fury had ended after the fall of the Shirath. They thought humanity would return to peace. They were wrong. A single human ship entered the system. It didn't send a warning. No beacon. No hails. It was the HSS Nemesis. A ship the size of a continent. It moved through space like a predator gliding through tall grass. Admiral Kale of the Zaraki Republic was the first to speak. "Is that ... one of theirs?" "Yes," replied his aide, a trembling young officer. "It matches the Titan-class signature. Nuclear core, quantum armor, and something else we can't identify." Before anyone could respond, the Nemesis opened its lower hull. Thousands of tiny dots poured out drones, sleek and fast, each carrying weapons that no one had ever seen. Without a word, the drones spread across the orbiting ship's and then they shut down weapon systems, disabled engines, and left every alien warship floating, helpless. No shots fired. Just humiliation. Within minutes, fleets that had once terrified empires were paralyzed. And the message came, not from the ship, but from Earth itself, broadcast across every channel in every language the galaxy knew. "You watched as the Shirath destroyed our colonies. You stood by when they wiped out our outposts. You called it balance. Now you talk about punishing us for surviving?" There was silence. "Earth owes you nothing. But we will teach you a lesson, not with war, but with fear. You will know what it means to be powerless." And then the Nemesis vanished. Gone. No trace, but the warning lingered. The Zaraki Republic held emergency meetings. The Olvos Alliance ordered its diplomats home. The Kendron Confederacy pulled its fleet out of every human-adjacent system. And deep in the dark void, Earth activated Protocol Omega. On Luna, inside the secure bunkers beneath the moon's surface, Ancient A's came. Online, black projects long hidden from even Earth's allies, now prepared to move. No one understood it yet. But Earth was no longer defending itself. Was now hunting. Across the galaxy, whispers spread. Earth has weapons we can't track. They control gravity now. They're building something under Mars. A gate. A super weapon. Paranoia infected every council. Every empire dot, but Earth didn't respond. Nemesis was just the beginning. Something bigger was coming, and the galaxy could feel it. They had faced monsters before, but Earth dot dot. Earth was becoming something else dot not. A planet dot not an empire, but an event, something you survived or didn't. For days, the galaxy had held its breath. Billions of species watched from their corners of space, hiding behind fleets, treaties, and shields, praying that what they saw unfolding wasn't real. But it was Earth was no longer silent. Earth was no longer patient above the ruined remains of the Shirath homeworld. A black storm had gathered not clouds, but warships. Thousands of them. Human carriers, dreadnoughts, destroyers, stealth cruisers. And something else something massive it drifted silently through the debris fields, eclipsing stars as it passed. A Titan-class Earth war corps, Nova Judicator, the first of its kind ever deployed outside the Sol system. It didn't broadcast signals. It didn't need to. Its shape alone, that sharp silhouette of vengeance, was enough to silence every listening post across 5 sectors. And it was just the beginning in the command chamber of the Judicator. Admiral Helena Cross stood at the center, hands clasped behind her back. The holographic display showed the remains of the Shirath defenses. Static, burned wreckage, twisted metal that once held pride. A junior officer turned from his console. "Admiral, we've received another warning signal from the Alun Federation. They say if we don't halt our advance, they'll activate the Rift Treaty." Helena didn't even blink. "The Alun watched us burn alone. Let them try. Prepare Wave 2. A silence passed through the bridge, not of fear but of awe. No hesitation. No mercy. Outside, Earth's fleets moved with terrifying purpose. Squadrons swept past dead moons. Orbital railguns locked onto distant listening stations. And deep, below the Nova Judicator, a weapon hummed, a gravitational spear capable of cracking planets in half. They weren't here to negotiate. They were here to show the galaxy what fury truly meant in the capital of the Alun Federation, high. Speaker Veckler watched the transmission in silence. His skin turned pale as he watched a human ship split a moon with one shot. No warning, no posturing, just action. "We should have helped Earth when we had the chance," his advisor whispered. V. Clar didn't reply. He just watched as the stars themselves seemed to shift. No, not stars. More ships. Earth had more and then came the message. One sentence. Blasted onto every channel. Translated into every language. "You let monsters devour our colonies. Now the monster is us." The message ended. The fear began. Planets that once ignored Earth began calling emergency councils. Old empires scrambled to reinforce their borders. Pirate factions fled toward uncharted systems. Even warlike races like the Groll tried to disappear from detection. But Earth had their scent now. They weren't conquering. They weren't expanding. They were correcting in a hidden vault beneath the ancient ruins of Miradon 3. A being stirred. It had been asleep for thousands of years, sealed away by ancient races who'd once feared it. Now it felt something. A familiar burn. "Earth," it whispered. "They've awakened. The core." Admiral Helena received the classified signal seconds later. Her eyes narrowed. "Ready the Nova Protocol," she ordered. Her crew froze. "But Admiral, that's meant for. I know exactly what it's for. Earth is done waiting. Let the old ones see. Let them all see." The final scene played out like something from a nightmare. 8 Earth. Titan war corps moved into position around a system-wide rift. Not to run, but to open it. Behind that rift was something buried deep in Earth's past. Something even they had kept hidden until now. And now? It was free. The stars turned red. Galactic empires that had survived 10,000 wars watched helplessly as their histories shattered. Every story, every legend, every warning, they had all underestimated Earth. They thought Earth was the underdog. They never understood. Earth was the storm they all tried to pretend didn't exist. Now it was too late.